Welcome to the Consultation. My name is Josh Floyd. Here beside me is the wonderful Christina Jimenez. We're both licensed attorneys here in the state of Texas, and today we're going to discuss some upcoming possession issues.
Specifically, we're going to be, did you forget what we were talking about?
I did.
We're talking about summer possession if you live within 100 miles.
So why don't we talk about summer possession if they live within 100 miles of each other?
I think that's a wonderful idea.
That's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so managing conservator lives in one spot. They have the right to designate the residence of the kiddo, and the possessory conservator lives within 100 miles, right? So there's a difference, and we're going to have another segment if it's over 100 miles. So only if you live within 100 miles, this is the video for you. Okay, so what happens during the summer?
So the reason we're putting this out is because there's very, very important deadlines that you've got to hit, and they're coming up pretty quickly. The first one being April 1st. And so April 1st is the deadline for the non-custodial parent to designate their 30 days of summer possession. If they don't designate by April 1st, they get July 1st to July 31st. So you still get your summer possession if you forget to designate, but if you want to pick your own days, then you have to do so by April 1st. Now, does it have to be 30 days altogether?
It does not, Mr. Floyd. It's
Okay.
a great question.
I thought so.
So if you want to, and sometimes, people have trips planned, there's family reunions, they, for whatever reason, just don't want to have a full block of 30 days. We've had
Because
some...
kids are annoying and 30 days is a long time with them.
We have had parents who like to stack their 30 days to weekends that they would otherwise be entitled to. So you can actually break up your summer visitation if you want to, okay? You have to make the designation by April 1. The earliest that you can designate summer possession is, get this, when summer actually starts.
Get out of here.
No, I'm not joking. So the day after school is dismissed, that could be the first day that you elect. And you cannot select any days that would end 7 days prior to school beginning, right? So 7 days prior to, that's blocked off, don't elect it. But any time period from the day that they're dismissed until that point, you're
The day
able...
after they're dismissed.
The day after they're dismissed. Thank you, Floyd.
You're welcome.
Until that point, you are able to designate your 30 days. But there's rules on how you designate those 30 days.
That's true. There are.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
So, if you want to break them up, is that what you're talking about, the rules?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So, if you want to break them up, you can do no more than 2 periods of possession, and there has to be at least 7 days in each period of possession.
Okay. So like 10 and 20?
That's
like
phenomenal math.
And 15?
Yes.
Like
7
and
23.
23? 8 and... No, I'm just kidding. So you have to have a minimum of 7 days, but you can carve it out any way that you want to, so long as you're meeting that criteria, and it can only be 2 periods of possession. That's it, okay? So don't try to do 3 different periods or 4 different periods, because you're going to get shut down and you're going to have issues with your designation.
Yeah, it won't count as a designation, and then you'll default to the July 1st, July 31st.
Very good. So I'm trying to look at my notes here. I feel like that's it for the possessory conservator.
Can we do a quick pro tip?
Okay.
Pro tip from a pro. Whenever I'm talking to clients about this, because we have clients that stay on retainer just to deal with this summer possession because it's crazy, is I pull both school calendars. It doesn't matter whether you pull the elementary school or the high school calendar, as long as you're pulling it from this right district. Right, Christina?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a true statement.
Okay. So pull the calendars for the year that's finishing and the year that's upcoming, and block that off. So, these are my days I can request, right? And then go in and mark what weekends you would otherwise have, mark off Father's Day, and then figure out which periods there work best for you to give you, most of the time, the most number of days. And I did one recently, and there were 2 blocks where my client would have gone 14 days or something without seeing the child. And so we designated both of those, right, to make sure that she got the most out of her summer possession. So pull the calendars and really take some time to look at it. Don't wait until March 31st to do that, because it's due on April 1st, and you're going to get missing your deadlines.
And so you actually brought up a good point, and that's
I usually do.
Father's Day.
Father's Day.
Yeah. So
it's a very important holiday, in my opinion.
And so, but why is it important in the context of summer visitation?
Because even if you designate Father's Day as your summer possession, you still don't get it if you're the mother. Father's Day always goes to the father, so you're wasting days if you designate that as the mother or as the father, because you didn't get it anyway.
Right, right. So there's also, so you have your possessory conservator, right? So the person that normally has like the weekend visitation throughout the year, right?
Oh,
Then
you use possessory. I use non-custodial, so same thing.
Yes, either way. And so then you also have, as the managing conservator, the person who the child primarily resides with, or you say custodial sometimes?
Custodial.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So if the kiddo lives with you and you have that right to designate the residence, you also have rights during the summer. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize this, yeah?
Yeah, I think this is often missed.
I feel like this is something that oftentimes people miss or maybe don't understand. And that is, as a managing conservator, you actually have rights to summer possession access as well. Okay, and so let's say, hypothetically speaking, April 1st comes around, possessory conservator designates their 30 days however they want to, or maybe they just default to the month of July. You actually, as the managing conservator, have the right to go in and designate one weekend that they would have otherwise, the other parent would have otherwise been entitled to, so long as it's not Father's Day.
So the way I like to explain it for the custodial parent is the non-custodial parent still gets their first, third, and fifth weekends, and then they get their 30 days on top of that. The custodial parent gets to designate 2 weekends of possession. Okay, 1 weekend during the non-custodial summer possession, so that they don't go so long without seeing the child. Right. That designation has to be made by April 15th, or you don't get it. The other designation that they get to make is for their period of extended summer possession. So they also get 21 days of consecutive possession. And that weekend is, they can remove one of those first, third, and fifth weekends that the non-custodial parent is entitled to. So if they're doing the month of July, in the month of June, the non-custodial will have first, third, and fifth weekend. The custodial parent can say, I'm taking the fifth weekend as my extended summer possession, and then the custodial parent will have 21 consecutive days. And that designation, if not done by April 15th, has to give 14 days notice. Does that make sense? You're looking at me like, either I'm screwing it up, or...
No, you screwing it up. But that's just, it's a lot.
It's confusing as hell.
But I feel like we could do better at like breaking it down and simplifying it, because I was like,
it's confusing, and I understand why clients call me just to help with summer.
No, maybe it's because the way that you're explaining it, that was a whole lot of words there. So can we break it down into, that's why I was like, wait, I think you're maybe mixing them. You were kind of mixing them, but so the first is within their block of 30 days, right?
Right.
So here's the way that it works, okay? The managing conservator, so the parent that the child lives with, gets to designate one weekend during the possessory conservator's summer designation. Okay, and so if they didn't make any sort of specification on April 1st and they have all the month of July, then the managing conservator can say, hey, I'm going to take one of your weekends in July away from your summer period of possession, right? So that's the first weekend designation. There's also a second designation that you can make, and that is going to be outside of those 30-day period, that 30-day period that the possessory conservator would have designated. Right? And so the way that I like to explain it to clients is I kind of just go default to July, because I would say like 90% of the people just say, I want month of July. It's easy. I already know I'm making plans, etc. And so what I will typically, the way that I explain it is, okay, they're going to have July, but in June, right, the possessory conservator is still going to be able to pick up the kiddo on first, third, and fifth weekend. Right? And so you can also take one of those weekends away from the possessory conservator so that you have a weekend outside of July, outside of the summer designation, and then you also have a weekend within the summer designation. So it gives you 2 weekend periods of possession that the other parent would otherwise be entitled to, but you can take it if you make the designation.
Yes, I think somebody said that earlier, but so the weekend.
We just say the same thing, but we say it differently.
Right. Yes.
Better.
So the weekend that you take during the summer possession has to be designated by April 15th or you lose it. The other weekend, in your example, June, right, if not designated by April 15th, give 14 days notice.
Correct.
Okay. So a lot of times what happens to the custodial parent is the non-custodial parent will not designate, and then the custodial parent forgets to designate by April 15th. And so the custodial parent, non-custodial parent gets July, and the custodial parent doesn't get that weekend because they forgot to designate by April 15th.
Hence the purpose of this video, so that it will be a friendly reminder to designate. I told my clients, set an alarm on your phone, put it on your calendar, right? Just to make sure that you don't miss it. And I will say, like, even if the parent misses it, don't be a jerk. Like, I mean, you probably wouldn't want to go 30 days without seeing your kiddo, you know, except for Floyd. And so
You met my kids.
and so, you know, try to be accommodating. I think, yes, technically within, you know, the context of an order, you're probably right. I feel like there has been times where a client has missed it. They want us to file something with the court so that they can go in and make the designation. We've done that, and the judge is kind of like, yes, you can have it. This was stupid. Next time, y'all need to be better parents. And so, and it's a waste of money because both of you guys are spending money on lawyers when you could just be nice to people.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to tell my clients, it's a quote from To Kill a Mockingbird, is you have the power, but you don't really have the right, right?
Ooh, I like it.
It's ugly.
Yeah.
So yes, you can do it, but it's not the right thing to do.
Right. Absolutely. But
And so one thing we did not mention was, what if the custodial parent does designate a weekend? Where are they going to do the exchange during the summer?
so the custodial parent actually has to pick up and drop off from the non-custodial. So, and we are using different jargon. So the custodial is the parent that the kiddos primarily live with, right?
Custody.
Yeah. Or the managing conservator. So that person has to go and pick up from the other parent. And this is actually implemented. We're old. This is, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think how many years ago? Like a few years ago, something like
Right.
that, where the legislature actually did an update and they said that the possessory conservator has to tell the managing conservator, is it 15 days?
15 days.
15 days prior to the visitation?
Yep.
Okay. Where they're going to pick up the kiddo. And so it's kind of, I guess it could potentially be a weapon, right? Because you could say, hey, I'm going to travel to Florida that weekend or that week. And so if you want to pick up the kiddos for your visit, then you can come all the way to Florida, which would really kind of be crappy. But again, it could happen pursuant to this.
It's funny that you use that example.
Why did you have that come up?
Last week.
Oh, wow.
So welcome to the consultation. My name is Josh Floyd. This is Christina Jimenez. We're both attorneys here in Texas. And today we're going to talk to you about, it's part 2 of summer possession. Today we're going to specifically talk about summer possession for parties that reside more than 100 miles apart.
If the parents live more than 100 miles away, what do we do? What's the rules for
summer? I'll try to use possessory and managing for this since that's what you use. I don't like those terms, but we'll use them. So the possessory conservator gets 42 days during the summer. We're coming up on some very important deadlines. April 1st is their deadline to designate the 42 days if they so desire. If you don't make that designation, then your summer possession will be June 15th to July 27th. If you do want to make the designation, then they can do what?
They can designate it.
Awesome. Perfect. Is that the end of the video?
Yes,
We're done?
that's it. We're done.
Good luck, guys.
So if you want to make the designation, you have to notify the other parent on or before April 1st, okay? And you can choose 42 days, but there's some rules on how you're going to designate those 42 days, okay? So number 1, the period of the 42 days can only begin the day after school is dismissed, okay? I've actually had people try to do that where they'll designate their summer visitation like 2 days before school's dismissed, and I'm like, no, that's not summer designation. So day after school is dismissed, you can start there, and it has to end 7 days prior to school resuming for the next school year. Okay.
Okay.
And so
Following.
that's rule 1. Rule 2 is, how do you break up these 42 days?
It's a good question. Really, any way you want, as long as it's not more than 2 periods of possession.
So not any way that you want.
Any way you want, with the following exceptions.
Okay.
Right? No more than 2 periods of possessions, and each period has to be at least 7 days in length. So you can do 7 and 35.
I'm not doing this. I refuse.
Because there's so many
21
options.
21 and 21. I got that.
There's a lot of options. So any way you want under those conditions.
Okay, very good. So, summer designation, you can't elect Father's Day, right? If you're mom and you have summer designation, don't elect Father's Day because dad gets Father's Day as he should. Is there any other rules on the 42? I feel like that's it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy
And
breezy, lemon.
Squeezy. If you don't designate, as Floyd stated, you get June 15th to July 27th. So if you miss your deadline on April 1st, don't freak out because you're still going to have your kiddos for those 42 days.
You can freak out if you planned a vacation for early June.
Yeah, freak out then, but otherwise don't freak out. And so going to the managing conservator, or in Floyd's jargon, the custodial parent. So basically the parent where the kids
I haven't used that word.
primarily, you use it a lot. If you watch the podcast, you use it a lot.
But not in this episode.
And so the parent that the kids live with, you also have rights for summer visitation. You also have deadlines. And so it is important that you make sure that you're meeting those deadlines if you want to have these rights.
You have some very important deadlines approaching. Just 2 weeks after the possessory's deadline is your deadline, April 15th. So we'll talk about the first one, I guess, is your weekends during the possessory conservator's summer possession. Okay, so you have to designate it or them by April 15th, or you don't get it. So if the custodial parent will be exercising any period of possession that is 30 days or more. So let's say if they break it up into 2 periods of possession and it's 35 and 7, right? Then you get 2 weekends you can designate where you get to go take the child and come back, hang out, whatever, right? If no period of possession is 30 days or more, then you only get 1 weekend. So if they do like 21 and 21, that's a great example, then you only get to pick 1 weekend. That's it.
Yeah.
April 15th.
April 15th. So the other thing that...
Do you think it's coincidental that it's like before tax day?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know that would matter for summer designation,
Okay.
but okay. Interesting. So the other thing that the managing conservator can do is they can actually designate a period outside of the possessory conservator's summer designation. And
Ooh, interesting. Tell us about that.
so you can actually designate 21 days outside of the summer possession. So remember that during the summer, possessory conservator still gets their first, third, and fifth weekends, right? And then they get their 42 days, right?
So
And
let's clarify though, because what if they're doing the alternative weekend possession?
So, yeah, because we're over 100 miles. I don't know why you have to complicate things. So
I just want to make sure everything's clear for our viewers.
If you're over 100 miles, the possessory conservator can sometimes elect to only have 1 weekend per month with 14 days advance written notice, okay? So either way, they're entitled to their weekend possession outside of their summer designation. And so what the code allows is for the managing conservator to come in and take that weekend possession away from the possessory. You don't like that term? Take away?
No, because it's not like under 100 miles where you're taking it away. Here you're just designating 21 specific days in no more than 2 periods of possession.
Right, but the end result is that you are depriving or taking away the possessory conservator's weekend period of possession.
If they're designating a 1 weekend, then you may not be taking it
But
away.
what if they have designated? Then you would be.
right? But that's not how it works.
Maybe you're not taking away, you're designating, but you can say take away if you want to.
Be wrong.
So you can designate, Lord Jesus, help me. Why did I get stuck with you? And so you can designate 21 days outside of the 42 days, okay? Now, there are rules with that as well. So it's dismissal, right? Day after dismissal, and then 7 days prior to. And you have to do it in no less than 7 days.
7 periods of possession.
7 days, and no more than 2 periods of possession.
Or, as I like to say, no more than 2 periods of possession with at least 7 days in each period.
Or you could say that if you decide to take it away.
Right.
So, I think that, and if you're managing conservator, I guess that's a question. Do they have to pick up and drop off? I guess if they're designating the 20, well, they pick up and drop off during that one weekend. If they're designating the 21 days, then
the child is just with them.
Right. Easy breezy. So, anything else that we're forgetting on this?
Just the important thing is for custodial managing conservators, April 15th is your deadline. If you don't designate either one of these, you don't get either one of them.
That sucks. Because it's not the same within 100, at least for one of those issues. But that's kind of crappy. So put it on your calendar, set a reminder, make sure that you give the designation. Also, if one of the parents just happens to forget, and I've actually had that happen where it was like April 2nd or April 16th and the email came through and the client was like, I'm not going to do that. And I'm just like, just don't be a jerk, because what's going to happen is they might file a motion with the court. You're going to pay me thousands of dollars just to deal with something where you could just say, you know what, you made a mistake. It's cool. No harm, no foul. I'm going to give it to you.
Just be nice. It's about the kiddos.
Exactly. So with that being said, as we always say during all these segments, this is not to be construed as legal advice. If you have questions with regard to summer possession over 100 miles, please make sure that you go and you consult with an attorney. Make sure that you read your order, because we're only talking about standard possession here, right? And so if you have a custom order, or if perhaps for some crazy reason this order was changed and maybe you didn't realize it, you have to refer to your order, because these things may be different for you.
Or an old standard possession order.
Or an old standard possession order, right? So read your order, consult with an attorney. Please make sure that you like and follow us on all social media platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If there's a platform, we're probably on it. And as always, we appreciate your support.